Hi, and welcome back to our YouTube channel. You've got me today, Julie Cluley, and my colleague Ali Carrington. And today we're going to talk about anxiety in dogs. And what we find when it comes to dog listening compared to traditional ways of helping dogs with anxiety is that there's kind of two ways of looking at it. We've got like the big reasonably obvious signs of anxiety, and traditional training will often go straight there and start to try and work with the dog there. So these kind of obvious signs are like reactivity when you're out, dogs that struggle with other dogs, with people, with bikes, with buggies, that kind of thing. Maybe their recall is a little bit inconsistent, let's say, and things like aggression. They're all what we would call quite obvious signs of anxiety in our dogs. And so, what we tend to do as dog listeners is we look for the more subtle, quieter signs. They tend to happen at home because we know that helping a dog there is so much easier than trying to deal with a dog that's in that already, adrenalized, aggressive, reactive state. They're not listening, and it's basically really difficult to help a dog in that place. So, Ali, do you want to share with us a little bit more about these quieter signs that we look for in dog listening?
Yeah, absolutely. And just also to mention that when we start at the quieter, more subtle signs of anxiety, you get to work on those bigger ones, in the outside world as well. But you can't go straight there. You've got to start in the home, like you say, where they're able to listen and learn, as we all are better at listening and learning when we're a bit calmer. So yeah, some of the quieter signs that we see in our work. I don't know whether this one is a bit of a surprise to people, but when your dog follows you from room to room. So something that I needed to work on with Ludo, actually, when he first came to us. The moment I would stand up from my desk, he'd be up and ready and follow me wherever I was going.
Yeah.
So that's one of them. Constantly wanting to play, again, could be a bit of a surprise to people that that's one of the more subtle signs of anxiety in the home. So a dog that's maybe nudging you all the time, brings you a ball all the time, or climbing up on you, and all of those kind of things. And generally, the third that I would say is this general lack of ability to settle themselves. So they're like on the go all day. And that has been, I would say, for the last 5 or 6 years, my experience in rescue, it's been a big issue. And people describe it as this dog has no off switch. When somebody's thinking about relinquishing their dog into rescue, they're saying, it's got no off switch. It's driving me mad. I can't cope anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's
Yeah.
that's the sort of thing that we're all seeing.
Yeah, and I think I would agree. I'm seeing it with my clients as well. It's something that's super common, but is often very rarely am I called out for that.
Yes, quite.
And like we're called out for the bigger things, and then when we delve a bit deeper and ask a few more questions or go and see the dog, this is it goes hand in hand with the bigger things. So it's helpful to know that there's this connection between the two, because once we can see that connection, then not only does it just helps, it just makes it gives you a solution, but it also makes it easier to make changes in because if we focus on these smaller things, it's easier for us to change our behavior in the home and around the home, rather than trying to do it when it's already kind of, the dog's already kind of lost it, really.
Yeah,
Um,
it's a bit like we are starting in the sort of we're practicing the information that we're giving to our dogs. Our new behaviour, our different behaviour, is information that we're saying to our dogs. You don't need to do this. You can. We've got everything covered. You can just take a nap if you want. That's the information that we're practicing giving our dogs when we start with the smaller, more subtle things.
yeah.
And then they get used to this daily, quiet, subtle practice. They're gaining all this information. They're starting to really realize in the home, oh, okay, maybe I don't need to be on all day. Maybe I don't need to be on guard or vigilant or have to follow you to make sure you're safe all day, every day.
Yeah.
And that information starts to go with them as we leave the home together and go for a walk together, for example. So we can start tackling the big outside world.
Yeah. And sometimes what people find is, if you really focus with this one action point that we're going to give you, you start to focus on that, and their dog's tolerance just gets higher, because a little bit like humans, that kind of, the week before you go on holiday and you're like, "Ah," and everything is just annoying. And then you have a couple of weeks rest, which is what we recommend at the start of a dog listening journey. We change the information, we have rest, all these things. It's like, oh, okay, well, I don't really like that other dog, but okay, fine, it's not that bad.
Yeah,
It's like your
exactly.
tolerance gets better.
Absolutely. The nervous system is more settled, is calmer, so that
Yeah.
that tolerance can happen. Yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing. And so with regards to that, let's share like one action point. Now, obviously, just to be clear, dog listening is not made up of one action point. There is more to it than that. But this is the one that both Ali and I agree is, if there was one thing that we could ask people to do that would help an anxious dog, this is it. So, yeah, Ali, do you want to share with us what it is?
Yeah. Well, so I was just referring back to the nervous system. What is one thing that really spikes a dog's nervous system that we all do as humans?
Mhm.
Eye contact, direct eye contact, spikes a dog's nervous system because for them it means, yeah, I'm ready. What do you want from me? What would you like me to do? We're asking them to do something with eye contact. So therefore, the action we would like to encourage people to do is reduce that eye contact.
Yes.
And it's something that in my role as like emergency contact sometimes for some of the rescue organisations, there are so many emergency scenarios that can happen, with greater and lesser seriousness. But the action point that I go to first and always is reduce your eye contact.
Yeah. And would you say there's a particular um time that would be really important, um rather than just kind of reducing eye contact? I understand what you mean. Yeah, reduce eye contact, full stop. But are there a couple of places that it might be even more beneficial to reduce that eye contact?
Yeah, I think there's a really important point in time, and that is the comings and goings of the household. So, if you are leaving for work or leaving the house to go to the shops, that's one time you take away your eye contact, and of course, again when you come back in the other time. Those are the two times that I would be very specific about. And obviously that can come as a bit of a surprise to people. Yes, it's an
Yeah.
interesting conversation to have.
It is a very interesting conversation to have, because it's not natural for us humans to do that. So, yes, we have delved deeper into that conversation in next week's YouTube video. So keep an eye out for that. I hope you've enjoyed this one. Give it a shot, see how you go, and we will see you in the next video. And don't forget that that old thing, like and subscribe and share it. Share this with anybody who you think might be interested in a different way of dealing with their dog's behavior. Thanks for now.